She had finally escaped the abyss of misery. Chen Ning just looked at maidservant Chen Ning, not telling her to stop. Maidservant Feng. Mother Lin's heart was filled with wonder. She looked around and shouted at the maids, "What are you all standing there for? Why aren't you kneeling down and apologizing to the princess?" The maids all kneeled down and began to kowtow to Chen Ning. They said in unison, "These servants know their wrongs. We ask for the princess forgiveness." Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and nodded. Mother Lin is truly a smart person. You learn the rules very quickly and you can infer many things from one instance. Amazing, truly amazing. When Xiao Ru and the other two maidservants heard Mother Lin's reply, they couldn't hold back their laughter. Chen Ning nodded with a serious expression and said, "Mother Lin is truly a loyal steward of the king's palace. No wonder His Highness values you so much. The tasks His Highness gives you are not sloppy at all. Just asking for me, but there are so many people here. Very good, it's enough to show how much you value this princess. Moreover, your greetings to this princess are very warm, making this princess very satisfied." Her words made Mother Lin and the other maids' faces turn bright red. They wished they could find a hole to hide in. Chen Ning smiled and then said, "Mother Lin, now that you've greeted him, it's time to reply to His Highness. I wonder how you will report this matter to His Highness?" Mother Lin was stunned. She couldn't help wondering what Chen Ning's words meant. Chapter 48. Reporting to the princess consort. This old servant will report to His Highness. After this old servant greeted the princess consort, she became seriously ill and will need to rest in bed. She won't be able to recover without resting for 10 days to half a month. Mother Lin guessed Chen Ning's intentions as she replied. Chen Ning nodded in satisfaction. Sure enough, the older the ginger, the spicier it was. She really was an old maid that had been in the king's palace for so many years. She knew what to do with just a nod. Dealing with smart people really saved a lot of effort. She smiled and said, "This kind of report is very good. Mother Lin is very capable. His Highness will definitely reward you." This old servant still has to thank the princess consort. Mother Lin's wrinkled face actually revealed a smile. The two of them spoke as if they were speaking in riddles, and the people around them were all confused by their conversation. But when they saw the princess and Mother Lin smiling at each other, as if they had turned from enemies to friends, they all let out a sigh of relief. Chen Ning slowly opened her mouth. "Mother Lin, we can be considered friends who don't fight. If this princess has offended you in any way, I hope Mother Lin will be magnanimous and not blame this princess." Mother Lin said with a face of fear, "This old servant doesn't dare, this old servant doesn't dare." She indeed didn't dare. She had only interacted with Chen Ning once and she knew that the other side was a strong person that she couldn't afford to offend. This kind of person, would she dare to offend her in the future? Xiao Ru Chuntao Xiahi. Chen Ning suddenly put away the smile on her face and revealed a serious expression. "This servant is here. Regarding what happened today, you did not see or hear anything. Do you understand? If a single word were to be spread to the ears of outsiders, then don't blame this princess for being impolite." Chen Ning said in a serious tone. "This servant doesn't dare." The three maids all kneeled down with a look of fear on their faces. "Stand up." Chen Ning raised her hand. Her red lips slightly opened and she revealed a faint smile. "Mother Lin, this princess will watch over the mouths of these three maids and definitely won't leak a single word of what happened today. You can be assured you are still the steward of this palace. If anyone dares to be disrespectful to you, just send someone to tell this princess. This princess will definitely not forgive them." This time Mother Lin was completely convinced. This princess consort really gave him a sweet date after giving him a slap. The others could not understand Chen Ning's words, but how could she not understand? Chen Ning's meaning was clearly telling her that as long as she obediently listened in the future, then the shameful matter of her being slapped in public today, other than the people present, no one else would know about it. She, Mother Lin, would still be the Mother Lin from before and the entire palace would still respect her like before. Although her face was still burning from the slap, the sweet date that Chen Ning gave her had calmed the anger in her heart. "Princess consort, this old servant will remember the kindness you've shown this old servant. If you have any requests in the future, Princess consort only needs to send someone to tell me and this old servant will do his best." Mother Lin was filled with admiration and gratitude towards Chen Ning. She had lived for a long time, and the only thing she could not afford to lose was her old face. Now that she had Chen Ning's promise, it was like she had eaten a pill of peace. As for her old maids, they were all her confidants. She was not worried at all that they would tell others that she had been beaten, unless they didn't want to live anymore. The princess consort was not injured at all, but why did the princess consort have to reverse the situation? Qin Ning smiled and did not explain. She returned to her room and changed her clothes. Holding the token, she brought Xiao Ru out the back door of the king's palace and onto the bustling main street. She only had one goal for leaving the palace this time, and that was to earn. There was only one reason for leaving the palace this time, and that was to earn money. If she wanted to live well in this era, the first thing. If she wanted to live a successful life in this era, the first thing she needed was money. Although she was the young miss of the Hu Guo Manor, looking at her 2 chests of extremely shabby dowry, even Chun Tao and Xia He, the 2 servant girls, did not even put them in their eyes. From the start they were not worth much. The only thing that was valuable was the 2 jade bracelets. They were souvenirs left behind by the original owner's mother, so she was not willing to sell them. Chapter 50. After Chu Xiaoyang returned to the palace, he went straight to Qin Baiyun's intoxicated flower pavilion. His face was so dark that it seemed like it was about to drip water. When the servants in the palace saw him, they were all silent. They knew that His Highness' mood was very bad, so no one dared to come forward to greet him. Chu Xiaoyang was indeed filled with a stomach full of anger. After the court was dismissed, all of his colleagues congratulated him on having a son soon. He had to force a smile on his face in the face of everyone's mockery. He was about to explode from holding it in. All of this humiliation was given to him by his Princess Qin Ning. Just thinking about it made him want to kill someone. When Qin Baiyun saw his face filled with killing intent, she was shocked and quickly came forward to comfort him. Chu Xiaoyang sat down and gritted his teeth as he said, "Where's Mother Lin?" When Mother Lin heard that Chu Xiaoyang had returned, she immediately rushed over. Hearing His Highness call for her, she quickly came forward to report. Chu Xiaoyang looked up and looked at Mother Lin standing in the corridor. In a cold voice he said, "How did it go?" Mother Lin bowed and replied, "Reporting to Your Highness, this old servant has followed Your Highness' orders and brought people to enforce the family rules on the princess. Now that the princess has been punished, she is lying on the bed unable to move. According to this old servant's estimates, it will take at least 10 days to half a month for her to recover. During this time the princess cannot leave the palace." When Qin Baiyun heard this, she couldn't help revealing a disappointed look. She can't get out of bed for 10 days to half a month? Why didn't he beat her to death? She looked down, hiding the hatred in her eyes. Chu Xiaoyang felt like the stifled anger in his chest had finally been released. He hatefully said, "That cheap woman didn't die, it's actually letting her off easy." Towards Mother Lin's words, he did not doubt her at all. He waved his hand and said, "It's been hard on Mother Lin. You did a good job this time, go and receive your reward." Turning around, he saw that Qin Baiyun's eyes were red and she said with tears in her eyes, "Your Highness, elder sister causing a ruckus in the wedding hall and running away from the palace is all this concubine's fault. It is because this concubine loves Your Highness too much that I couldn't control myself. This concubine did not mean to steal Your Highness from elder sister, but elder sister's heavy injuries are all because of this concubine. This concubine's heart is not at ease, so I ask Your Highness to find the best doctor to treat elder sister's injuries and help elder sister recover as soon as possible. Otherwise, how can this concubine face elder sister?" Her tears fell down as she sobbed. It was like a pear blossom in the rain, making Chu Xiaoyang feel pity and heartache for her. Chu Xiaoyang couldn't help pulling her into his embrace. "Yun, your heart is just too good. She treated you like that but you still think for her. This king likes a kind-hearted girl like you. A heartless elder sister like Qin Ning, it's better to just kill her." Once he mentioned Qin Ning, the gentleness in his eyes disappeared and was replaced with a ruthless look. "Your Highness, no matter how many things she has done wrong to this concubine, she is still this concubine's elder sister, so this concubine will not blame my elder sister. Not to mention this matter is really this concubine's fault. This concubine shouldn't have known that Your Highness and elder sister were engaged, but to Your Highness." Qin Baiyun's voice became softer and softer as she lowered her head in embarrassment. She knew that the more pitiful she was and the more she put the blame on herself, the more Chu Xiaoyang would love her and the more he would hate Qin Ning. With a wave of the pen, she wrote 8 big words, "Iron-mouthed divine foresight, 100% accurate." As a micro-expression expert from the modern era, of course she had to make money with her skills. Xiao Ru Zhao's expression expert from the modern era, of course she had to make money with her skills. She had never remembered that the young miss had learned fortune-telling. She thought to herself, is the young miss trying to make a living as a swindler? She had never remembered that the young miss had learned fortune-telling before. she whispered in her heart. The young miss wouldn't be thinking of becoming a swindler, right? Chen Ning anxiously scratched her ears and cheeks. It was like there was a thorn in her butt. After sitting down for a while, she stood up and looked around. She was very confused. The other stalls had quite a few people, but not a single person came to Chen Ning's stall. Xiao Ru anxiously scratched her ears and cheeks. It was like there was a thorn in her butt. After sitting down for a while, she stood up and looked around. Chapter 52. Chen Ning just smiled the entire time. She was not anxious or impatient at all. They waited until the sky turned dark and the people in the market slowly dispersed. Many of the vendors had already packed up their stalls and left. She slowly stretched her waist and looked at Xiao Ru. "Girl, why do you have such a sad face?" Xiao Ru pursed her lips and touched her empty purse as she said, "Young miss, you said you brought this servant out to earn money, but this servant hasn't seen a single copper coin. Instead, we've spent 10 copper coins in vain. We don't even have money to eat buns anymore." Chen Ning gave a laugh. She scratched Xiao Ru's nose and said, "Are you laughing at your young miss for not having the ability to earn money? Isn't it easy to earn money? Alright, then I'll show you my skills." Her eyes turned and fell onto a hurrying old man. She smiled at Xiao Ru and said, "Girl, our money for today's meal will depend on this person." Xiao Ru followed Chen Ning's gaze and saw that it was an unfamiliar old man. She couldn't help shaking her head, not believing it at all. Chen Ning stood up and walked in front of the old man. She cupped her hands with a smile. "Old uncle, you're blessed to have a child at such an old age. Congratulations, congratulations." The old man had a head full of white hair and was wearing a silk robe. He was around 50-60 years old and he was holding a basket in his hand. He was currently walking in a hurry, but he was suddenly stopped by Chen Ning. He couldn't help being stunned. When he saw that Chen Ning was an unfamiliar girl that was not even 20 years old, the old man's face revealed an impatient look. He gave a perfunctory nod to Chen Ning and said, "Same to you, same to you." He walked past Chen Ning and continued forward, not even looking back. Xiao Ru saw that the young miss had been given the cold shoulder. She was afraid that she would be sad, so she prepared to comfort Chen Ning. She saw the old man walk a few steps before suddenly turning around. He looked at Chen Ning and said in a doubtful voice, "Little girl, we don't know each other. How did you know that I had a child at such an old age?" Chen Ning smiled as she pointed at the 8 words on the table. She said with a smile, "My family has an ancestral art of fortune-telling. There is no fortune-telling people's fortune that doesn't work. When I saw old uncle from afar, your forehead was glowing and your face was red. I calculated that you just gave birth to a fat boy this year. Isn't this a great fortune?" The old man's eyes popped out and he had a face of disbelief. "You're saying that you calculated this for me?" "Of course." Chen Ning smiled and nodded. The old man was filled with doubt as he looked over Chen Ning. No matter how he looked at her, she did not seem like an expert fortune-teller. His impression of fortune-tellers was that they all wore long robes, had long beards, and looked unfathomable. There was no way they would be like this young and smiling girl in front of him. "Uncle, if you're willing to listen, why don't you sit down and let me read your fortune for you? I'll help you predict the future of your fat son. How about that?" Chen Ning looked at the old man's face and saw the doubt in his eyes. She did not explain because the more she said, the more suspicious it would be. Her suggestion was what the old man was most concerned about. Which father in this world didn't want to know the fate of their precious son? The old man nodded without even thinking. "All right. Then you can help this old man read it. He is restrained by fire, so he cries in the middle of the night, stopping at dawn." The old man stared at Chen Ning and the expression on his face could no longer be described with the word, success. Originally he had sat down to do the fortune-telling just to get some good luck. He wanted the other party to say a few auspicious words and then casually throw a few copper coins and leave. But when he heard the words bloody calamity, he was already inwardly furious. He felt that the other party was talking nonsense and was just a swindler trying to cheat him of his money. At that time he was prepared to leave, but who would have thought that Chen Ning's next words would shock him? She had described the scene of his beloved son crying every night, as if she had seen it with her own eyes. Ning said. The old man's body trembled as he revealed an excited expression. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "I've just said that soil makes metal, so you only need to feed him a bit of soil every night and he'll be able to sleep peacefully." "Eat dirt? Eat dirt?" The old man couldn't help glaring at her. This divine fortune-telling girl's method was truly strange. She actually wanted his beloved son to eat dirt. Of course you can't directly feed him dirt. You can pick up some dirt and mix it with water to feed him. That would be enough. Oh, then I'll have to thank Miss. The old man was still doubtful. He cupped his hands to Chen Ning again and left with the basket. When the old man couldn't even be seen, Xiao Ru came over to Chen Ning's side and asked in a small voice, "Young miss, was what you said just now true? You wouldn't be lying to him, right?" Chen Ning looked at Xiao Ru. "Do you think your young miss is a swindler?" She took the ingot of silver from Xiao Ru's hand and tossed it up and down. Her smile was so wide that only her teeth could be seen. Chapter 55. The largest and best restaurant in the capital was called Tai He Floor. When Chen Ning and Xiao Ru arrived at Tai He Floor, they found that this restaurant truly lived up to its name. Just from the outside they could tell that it was very elegant. The customers that came in and out were either officials or nobles. They were all dressed in luxurious clothes and had an extraordinary aura. Xiao Ru saw this and her heart felt weak. She secretly pulled on Chen Ning's sleeve and said in a small voice, "Young miss, why don't we go to another restaurant? This restaurant's food must be very expensive. We only have 10 silvers, so we don't have enough money to pay the bill after eating." Chen Ning waved her hand and said in an uncaring manner, "What are you afraid of? Since we're here, let's eat to our heart's content. Don't save money for your young miss." She boldly walked in. Although she was dressed in commoner's clothing, her bearing was not one bit inferior to those high-ranking officials and nobles who wore embroidered clothes. "Two esteemed guests, please come in. May I ask if you two want a private room upstairs or—" As soon as they entered, a waiter came forward with a face full of hospitality, enthusiastically greeting them. Before he could finish, the waiter's words were stuck in his throat. He finally saw Chen Ning and Xiao Ru's clothes and couldn't help being stunned. He had worked at Tai He Floor for a long time, but this was the first time he had seen such poor-dressed people enter Tai He Floor. He couldn't help muttering in his heart, "Were these two beggars here to beg for food? Give us the best private room upstairs." When Chen Ning opened her mouth, Xiao Ru's chin almost fell off from shock. She began to give Chen Ning a meaningful look. Her meaning was that they only had 10 silvers, so why don't we just sit in the lobby downstairs? Chen Ning acted like she didn't see it. She smiled and repeated herself, "I want the best." The waiter hesitated for a bit. He felt that these two guests were not here to eat, but more like they were here to beg. "I'm really sorry, but the private rooms upstairs are all full. How about the two of you eat downstairs?" he said with a smile. "Full? I think you're the one looking down on us. Are you afraid that we can't eat at your Tai He Floor and are not worthy of sitting in your private rooms?" Chen Ning saw through the waiter's thoughts with a single glance. She put away the smile on her face and bluntly criticized him. The waiter's face couldn't help turning red. He secretly thought that these two girls were really trying to impress. They were dressed so shabbily, how could they afford to eat at Tai He Floor? "I'll say it again. Find us the best seats and I'll reward you with this." Chen Ning took out the silver ingot and threw it into the hands of the waiter without even looking at it. Seeing this, her eyes to the waiter's chest. "Oh my God, this is 10 taels of silver." He had to work at the Tai He Floor for a full year to earn this amount of money, but this girl in front of him was casually giving it to others. It seems like in this day and age you really can't judge a book by its cover. Yes. "Two esteemed guests, please come upstairs." Xiao Ning shouted to Xiao Nings. Xiao up. Nings to Ru Xiao Ru. To was to. She kept saying in her heart, "My good young miss, you're really generous. Giving us 10 silvers at once, that's all we have. We're so poor right now, what will we use to pay for the meal?" Her face turned into a bitter gourd. Chen Ning held her hand as they entered the private room on the second floor. Chapter 56. The waiter brought over the menu and Chen Ning directly gave it to Xiao Ru. "Little girl, you order the dishes. Order whatever you want to eat. It's still the same words, don't save money for your young miss." Xiao Ru had a crying face. Without looking at the menu, she pushed it back to Chen Ning. "Young miss, this servant doesn't know how to read, so you should order." She said in her heart, "What dishes are you ordering? Even if it's just plain bread, we can't afford it." Chen Ning smiled and said, "All right, I'll order. Well, I remember you saying last time that you wanted to eat lotus root boiled beef, scallion spare ribs, and oh, that's right, chestnut roasted chicken. Xiao Ru, did I remember correctly?" "You didn't remember incorrectly, young miss, memory is really good." Xiao Ru dryly praised as she blinked at Chen Ning. Chen Ning giggled and said, "Waiter, other than those 3 dishes, we also want a jade shrimp, a mixed meat and a lion's head with crab meat." She did not stop as she ordered the most expensive dishes on the menu. The waiter's smile was so wide that his eyes couldn't be seen. "Yes. May I ask if these two esteemed guests would like some wine?" Our store's pear blossom white is very famous in the capital city. It is sweet and fragrant with an endless aftertaste. All the guests that come here love to drink it, even the young misses of the rich and powerful families come to our store and ask for this pear blossom white. He eagerly recommended. Chen Ning became interested when she heard this. She slapped the table and said, "All right, give me 3 pounds." The waiter left with a smile on his face. Xiao Ru was so anxious that she began to sweat. "Young miss, you've ordered all these expensive dishes. We won't have any money to pay the bill, what should we do?" "You don't have any money to pay the bill?" Chen Ning looked at Xiao Ru's face and giggled as she said, "Then I'll leave you here to wash the dishes." "Young miss." Xiao Ru's heart was filled with anxiety and she almost cried. All right, I'm just teasing you. How could I bear to let my Xiao Ru wash the dishes? When the dishes come, you can eat them without worry. As for the money to pay the bill, I have my own ways. Chen Ning had a very confident look on her face. "Young miss, what methods do you have?" Xiao Ru was doubtful. Chen Ning smiled and did not reply. She had a mysterious look on her face. Xiao Ru knew that as long as the young miss revealed this expression, she would not tell her. She could only sit down and hold her chin as she waited for the dishes to be served. "That's right, young miss, do you really know fortune-telling? We've never met that old man before. How could you tell at a glance that he had a son in his old age?" Xiao Ru had this question for a long and she finally asked it. Hearing this, Chen Ning gave a gentle smile and tapped Xiao Ru's nose. "Stupid girl, do you remember what I told you before?" "Xiao, this servant does not know." "Ning." Xiao Ru said, and Xiao Ning. Xiao Ru. "Miss I, this servant Xiao Ning. Mississippi that in Ru she." She really didn't understand. This thing could talk? She say I ning she know. She Chen Ning Ru. She really did not to say. Say. Li she say. She to say. To say. Ru Xiao to say. Xiao Ru tilted her head and thought for a bit. Then she suddenly slapped her head and shouted, "I remember." The servant took a look and there were eggs in the basket. "That's right, eggs." Chen Ning said with a smile. "Do you remember what color the eggs were?" Chapter 57. Stupid Girl. Chen Ning reached out and tapped Xiao Ru's head. "It's not that you don't remember, it's that you didn't pay attention at all. As long as you look carefully, you'll find that it's a basket of red eggs. Tell me, why would an old man carry a basket of red eggs on the streets?" "I know this because there's a new child in the family." Xiao Ru clapped her hands and shouted. After saying this, she suddenly realized something and said, "Oh, I understand now. Young miss, you guessed that he had a child at an old age based on the eggs. It was actually this simple. I really thought that young miss knew how to read fortunes." Chen Ning pursed her lips and said, "There are many fortune tellers who use this method, so there's nothing strange about it. Xiao Ru, if you learn how to observe, you'll be able to do it too." "Then young miss, what you said about the blood disaster, and eating dirt to stop crying, were they all true?" Xiao Ru scratched her head again. She was stunned at the time. "If you believe it, then it's true. If you don't believe it, then it's fake." Chen Ning smiled and winked. She picked up her chopsticks and said, "Come, let's eat, let's eat." While the two of them were talking, the dishes were brought over like a stream. They filled the table and the fragrance filled the air. Xiao Ru's saliva almost flowed out. She ate a piece of shrimp and then a piece of pork ribs. She felt that each dish was something she had never eaten before. When Chen Ning saw this, she felt it was a little strange. In any case, she was the young miss of the Hugua Palace before she was married and Xiao Ru was the maid of the original body. Could it be that she had never eaten these home-cooked dishes before? She searched through the memories of the original body and found that she really had never eaten them before. Not only Xiao Ru, even she, the young miss, only ate the crude food sent over from the kitchen every day. There was not a single bit of meat in the food. Of course, this was all because of her good stepmother, Madame Lin. She was not willing to think about the bitter past of the original body. She picked up her chopsticks and picked up a large piece of meat for Xiao Ru. She said with a smile, "This meat is the best. It's fragrant but not greasy. It melts in your mouth, you'll definitely like it." Chen Ning and Xiao Ru happily ate. They did not know that in the private room next to them, there was someone listening to their conversation. The black-clothed man sat in front of the table and drank slowly. There were only 4 dishes on the table, but each one was exquisite and expensive. The pear blossom wine in the pot emitted a sweet and intoxicating fragrance. He reclined in the chair and drank one cup after another. His demeanor was carefree and lazy. Behind him, there was a blue-clothed youth standing with his hands raised. While Xiaoru was talking to the waiter, Xiaoru 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 Xiaoning Xiao Xiaoru Xiao Xiao and Xiao Xiaoru Xiao Xiaoru Xiao 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 and said. He remembered that he had turned the entire alley upside down, but he could not find even a trace of her and her servant. Hearing Qinning's voice at this time, he was filled with a pleasant surprise that came from searching far and wide. I shall he. As he. Xiao Ru, on the other hand, was listening to the conversation in the private room. The expressions on his face were very rich. Hearing Xiao Ru whisper that they didn't have money to pay the bill, Xiao Si couldn't help but blurt out, "Master, they don't have money to eat. Do you want to?" Chapter 58. Xiao Si had already noticed that his master was interested in the older girl next door, and he had quite a bit of interest in her. This was because after following his master for so many years, she was the first girl that his master had taken the initiative to invite to a meal. Yesterday, when he had come back to report to his master that the two girls had disappeared, his master's face had been expressionless and he hadn't said a single word, but Xiao Si had felt the atmosphere freeze. It was like a gust of cold wind had blown across the ground, causing him to shiver from the cold. He realized that if he couldn't find that girl, he would leave a bad impression in his master's heart. But who would have thought that there would be such a coincidence today? The girl that he couldn't find would suddenly appear next door in the same restaurant, and she didn't have any money to pay the bill. This was a good opportunity to get close to her. But his master acted like he didn't hear anything. He just sat there and didn't even let out a fart. Xiao Si couldn't bear to let his master miss this kind of heaven-sent opportunity, so he reminded him. Meddlesome. The black-clothed man's cold eyes flew over and Xiao Si immediately closed his mouth. All right, since his master thought he was a meddlesome servant, then he wouldn't care. Looking at his master's taciturn personality, how could he talk to this girl? Young miss, this Tai He Four's food is too delicious. This servant has never eaten such delicious food in my life. If we could eat this kind of good food every day, how happy would that be? Xiao Ru gave a large burp. She licked her lips as she let out a sigh. She had eaten until her stomach was about to burst, but there was still a lot of food left. Qinning revealed a smile. These dishes were indeed delicious, but she who came from the modern era had eaten even more delicious dishes than these. After all, times had changed and humans were constantly improving. The amount of thought and variety that the modern people put into food was something that the people of this era could not compare to. Compared to the food, she liked the wine here more. It was really like what the waiter had said, it was sweet and fragrant, leaving an endless aftertaste. After a few glasses of wine, she felt tipsy. Her cheeks were stained with a faint blush, but her eyes became even brighter. Xiao Ru, are you full? She giggled as she asked. I'm full. This servant's stomach is about to burst. Xiao Ru replied, but her face revealed a worried expression. She pulled on Qinning's sleeve and said in a small voice, Young miss, we don't have any money to pay the bill. How about we find a chance to slip away? Slip away? Tell me, how do we slip away? Qinning couldn't help but laugh as she asked. Xiao Ru rolled her eyes and looked out the window. Her eyes lit up. Why don't we jump out the window? This is the second floor. It's so high, aren't you afraid of breaking your legs? Qinning smiled as she looked out the window. This. Xiao Ru was speechless. She anxiously grabbed her hair. Then what? Are we going to sit here and not pay the bill? Are we going to leave? Not only was Xiao Ru worried, even Xiao Si next door was worried for them. He couldn't help but glance at his master, hoping that the black-clothed man would take the initiative to help them pay the bill. But the black-clothed man didn't even look at him, only minding his own business as he drank and ate leisurely. Qinning smiled. She suddenly raised her voice and shouted, Waiter! Chapter 59. Once she heard the word bill, Xiao Ru's face turned white. Her little hand nervously grabbed onto Qinning's sleeve. Qinning calmly patted her hand and said to the waiter with a smile, Your restaurant's dishes are not bad, but there are too few dishes, so it's not satisfying to eat. The waiter stuck out his tongue when he heard this. With a smile, he said, Miss might not know, but our restaurant has over 200 different dishes. Out of all the restaurants in the capital, our restaurant has the most dishes and the taste is the best. Even the nobles, ministers, and even the royal family are full of praise after eating it. His words were filled with pride. Although he did not dare look down on Qinning and her servant after taking Qinning's money, when he heard her say that his restaurant's dishes were not good, his heart was not convinced and he couldn't help boasting. Then I want to order 4 special dishes. I wonder if your chef can make them? Qinning asked with a smile. Miss, just order. As long as it's something that flies in the sky, runs on the ground, or swims in the water, my chef can make it. As long as it's something Miss can't order, there is nothing my chef can't make. The waiter patted his chest and confidently boasted. Very good, then I can rest assured. Chen Ning's smile made Xiao Ru's heart tremble seeing this. Every time she saw the young miss reveal this fox-like smile, someone would definitely be out of luck. But what Xiao Ru did not understand was that they would be the ones out of luck because they didn't have any money to pay the bill. Then I'll order something that flies in the sky, runs on the ground, and swims in the water. I'll order one of each. Ooh, the last one will be a soup. Chen Ning leaned back in her chair and revealed a lazy look. All right. The waiter heard that this was too simple and immediately agreed. He turned around to leave. Wait a minute, waiter. I haven't finished speaking yet. Chen Ning called out to him. What else does Miss want to order? The waiter turned around with a smile and respectfully said. Chen Ning reached out a finger to her chin and slowly said, the first dish is something that flies in the sky. A phoenix is a phoenix, so let's have a phoenix's nest. The second dish is something that runs on the ground. I want to try the eggs laid by the divine phoenix, so I'll have a phoenix egg. The third dish is something that swims in the water. It's spring right now and the peach blossoms are flowing with water, so it's a good time to eat mandarin fish. I'll have a squirrel mandarin fish. As for the fourth soup, it's much simpler. As long as it tastes good and sounds good, it's fine. WH. As Chen Ning spoke, the waiter's mouth was wide open. When she finished speaking, the waiter's mouth was wide enough to fit a phoenix egg. He had been a waiter in the Tai He floor for many years, but this was the first time he had heard a customer order this kind of dish. This was the first time he had ever heard of such a thing. Phoenix's nest, phoenix eggs, and squirrel mandarin fish. He had never heard of before. Phoenix. As for the soup that tasted good, looked good, and sounded good, it was even more unimaginable. Did you not hear me clearly? Do you want me to tell you the names of the dishes again? Seeing the stunned look on the waiter's face, Chen Ning gently curled her lips and narrowed her eyes. I heard you clearly. The waiter finally managed to close his mouth with great difficulty. Chapter 60. Miss, the 4 dishes you ordered, it is impossible to make them. The phoenix is a divine bird from the heavens. This little one has never seen one before, so how could it be used to make dishes? This phoenix egg is even more impossible. As for the squirrel mandarin fish you ordered, this lowly one knows about mandarin fish. Our family chef has a unique skill called mandarin fish in soup. It's fresh and fragrant, and all the customers who have eaten it have praised it. But using squirrel mandarin fish to make mandarin fish, this is not right. And the soup you ordered, how could this soup look good, taste good, and sound good? This little one has lived for over 20 years and has never heard of soup that sounds good. Hey miss, are you joking with this little one? The waiter said with a smile. Chen Ning's face turned serious and her smile disappeared. She forcefully slapped the table and shouted, Who is joking with you? You just boasted that anything that flies in the sky, runs on the ground, or swims in the water, your family's head chef is an expert at them all. Now you can't even make 4 normal dishes? If this gets out, your Tai He floor's reputation will be smashed. The waiter's face turned bitter as he revealed an awkward expression. He had indeed boasted before, but who would have thought that the 4 dishes Chen Ning ordered would be so strange? This was simply too difficult. Miss, why don't you order another 4 dishes? These 4 dishes of yours are really... Can I make them or can't I? Stop wasting time, stop nagging and give me a straightforward answer. Chen Ning impatiently knit her brows. This. The waiter stuttered. He did not need to go to the kitchen to know that the chefs in the kitchen would not be able to make them. If you can't make them, then don't blame this miss for not paying. Xiao Ru, let's go. Chen Ning pulled Xiao Ru up. Alright. So you want to eat for free. You're not allowed to leave. Only then did the waiter react. He immediately stretched out his arms to block the door. Chen Ning gave a cold laugh. The dignified #1 restaurant in the capital city, what big words and how big of a bull you are. You can't even make the dishes the guests ordered and you still have the nerve to take their money? Aren't you ashamed? She spoke in a righteous manner and with an awe-inspiring manner, she actually made the waiter speechless. Xiao Ru looked at Chen Ning with little stars in her eyes and her heart filled with worship. There was probably no one in this world who had a thicker face than the young miss, right? She could even eat for free in such a righteous manner. Xiao Si, who was eavesdropping next door, couldn't help but let out a laugh. Although the black-clothed man still had a frosty expression on his face, there was a hint of a smile in his eyes. The man's slender fingers rubbed the smooth glass of the cup. The man's slender fingers caressed the smooth surface of the glass, and the light of interest in his eyes could not be concealed. You are deliberately making things difficult for me." The waiter shouted angrily with his hands on his hips. "What phoenix's nest and phoenix egg are you talking about? What kind of soup was that? How could there be such a thing in the world? If you don't pay the bill today, don't even think about taking half a step out of the floor of supreme harmony." He turned around and shouted at the people downstairs, "Someone come quickly. There is someone here who doesn't pay." After a while, the sound of people coming from the stairs could be heard. Several burly men came in with kitchen knives and fire sticks in their hands. Their faces were filled with killing intent as they charged in. "Who is the one that doesn't pay?" Chapter 61. The man's left and right hands each held a pig slaughtering knife. The knife's tip was as bright as snow as it danced around. "It's these two girls." The waiter pointed at Chen Ning and Xiao Ru. "You guys aren't paying for your meal?" The large man aggressively stepped forward. He grinded the two pig slaughtering knives together, making a sound like his teeth were aching. Xiao Ru couldn't help letting out a scream. Her body began to tremble as she closed her eyes, not daring to look at him. "Stop being so fierce and scaring this little girl. Stand further away, you smell like excrement. Are you a manure digger in the backyard?" Chen Ning revealed a look of disgust as she knit her brows and covered her nose. The large man's face couldn't help turning red. How did this girl know that he was a manure digger? "Why do you care who father is? If you don't pay for your meal today, then don't think about leaving our Tai floor," he shouted. "Who said we aren't paying for our meal?" Chen Ning rolled her eyes at the waiter and said with a cold smile, "It was this waiter who was bragging. He said that as long as I ordered a dish, your restaurant would be able to make it. In the end, I ordered it, but he refused to make it. I didn't ruin your Tai floor's reputation, which is already very polite. You actually have the nerve to ask me for money? Is there such a logic in this world?" When the group of men heard this, they all felt that Chen Ning's words were reasonable. They couldn't help nodding their heads. The waiter anxiously pointed at Chen Ning and shouted, "Don't listen to her words. I've never heard of the 4 dishes she ordered before. How could the head chef make them? There is no one in this world that can make them. She's obviously here to freeload." "There is no one in this world that can make them?" Chen Ning countered with a question. "If I said that someone can make those 4 dishes, what would you do?" "Absolutely impossible," the waiter said without even thinking. You are just a waiter, you can't make the decision. Call the Tai floor's shopkeeper out. This miss wants to talk to him face to face." "All right, then I'll call the shopkeeper out. You just wait. When our shopkeeper comes, you'll have a good time." The waiter ran off. Xiao Ru saw that this matter was getting bigger and bigger. Her forehead was covered in sweat, especially when she saw those fierce-looking men blocking the door. She didn't even have a chance to escape. She wanted to cry, but she couldn't. The young miss had poked a hornet's nest this time. What should she do? Chen Ning calmly said, "Xiao Ru, this pear blossom white is very good. Do you want to drink a cup?" She smiled as she gave Xiao Ru a cup of wine. Xiao Ru's cheeks puffed up as she stared at Chen Ning. She could not understand why the young miss could still smile in this kind of desperate situation. "It's fine if you don't s. If I's an and I drink is an is I will. She an and she is she as and she is she. She is as she is she, and she, Ning. She xiao she and she, and she, Ning. Who says I'm going to run?" Chen Ning giggled as she raised her cup and drank it all in one gulp. "I still have to wait for the shopkeeper to come and let him judge." The large men gave a cold laugh in their hearts. With them guarding this place, did she still want to run? Chapter 62. The sound of footsteps came from the stairs again, heading straight for Chen Ning's room. "Shopkeeper, it's these two girls who aren't paying for their meal." The waiter let a 40-year-old middle-aged man in and pointed at Chen Ning and Xiao Ru as he spoke. That middle-aged man was a bit chubby and had an extraordinary aura. Although he had heard from the waiter that there were people who didn't pay for their meal and that Chen Ning and Xiao Ru were two young girls, he still cupped his hands and politely greeted them. "Young ladies, are you having some trouble with your hands?" His Tai He floor was the #1 restaurant in the capital. As the shopkeeper of Tai He floor, of course he understood the logic of making money. Although he knew that the other side was eating for free, he still politely gave them a way out. Just this kind of attitude was enough to make people look at him in a different light. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and shook her head in denial. "It's very convenient for us." "Shopkeeper, don't listen to the waiter's words. We definitely did not come to your restaurant to eat for free." The shopkeeper was stunned when he heard this and looked at the waiter. The waiter quickly explained, "Shopkeeper, this little one is not lying. They ordered a table full of dishes and didn't want to pay the bill before leaving. It's clear that they want to eat for free. Look at how poor they are, it doesn't seem like they can pay the bill." Chen Ning gave a cold laugh and said, "You're just judging people by their appearance. You have eyes but can't see. If we don't have money to pay the bill, where did the 10 silver coins in your pocket come from?" The waiter's face turned red and he stuttered, This is what you gave me." "That's right, I even gave 10 silver coins to a waiter. Would I eat for free? Do you believe me?" Chen Ning looked up and confidently looked at the people around her. Of course they didn't believe it. If they said that this kind of generous customer didn't have money to pay the bill, that would be the biggest joke in the world. Everyone present had the same thought. The shopkeeper's face sunk. "Waiter, how did you offend these two girls?" His voice was very strict and he didn't show any anger. "Shopkeeper, this little one didn't, this little one doesn't dare." The waiter was covered in cold sweat and his heart was filled with regret. This girl's mouth was too powerful. She was able to turn black into white. Even the shopkeeper didn't believe his own words. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have accepted the 10 silver coins. Even if he had 100 mouths, he still wouldn't be able to explain himself. "Waiter, hurry up and apologize to these two esteemed guests." The innkeeper shouted again. The waiter felt wronged, but he did not dare disobey the shopkeeper's orders. He could only bitterly apologize to Chen Ning and Xiao Ru. "I have eyes but failed to see. I have offended the two ladies. Please be magnanimous and forgive me." "Forget it, this little one will." Chen Ning revealed a natural smile and cupped her hands to the shopkeeper. It is the shopkeeper who is reasonable and able to distinguish right from wrong. Since the misunderstanding has been cleared up, we will be leaving. The innkeeper nodded with a smile and said, "It is rare for you to be so magnanimous. I hope you will come to our restaurant again next time." I will. Chen Ning nodded with a smile. She grabbed Xiao Ru's hand and walked out the door. The few men who were blocking the entrance hurriedly put away their weapons and made way for the two of them. Chapter 63. Xiao Ru was an honest person. She couldn't help pulling on Chen Ning's sleeve and asking, "Young miss, have we not paid yet?" Hearing this, Chen Ning almost fainted from anger. She stared at Xiao Ru, wishing she could take a needle and sew this stupid girl's mouth shut. Xiao Ru, no one will think you're mute if you don't speak." She sighed in her heart. Just now, when she had interrogated the waiter in front of everyone, she had used a loophole in psychology. She had used one thing to negate another thing that was not related. Even the knowledgeable Tai He floor shopkeeper had not realized it and had been fooled by her. That was why he had been fooled and let them leave. The black now that she had been reminded by Xiao Ru, but he raised his hand, they would not be able to leave smoothly. Gold ingot fell on the table in front of the two of them reached the door. They heard the waiter call out, "Shopkeeper, don't let them go. They haven't paid for their meal yet." Listening for a long time. When the large men heard this, they immediately blocked the door again. Because he was waiting for a chance. The shopkeeper looked at the leftover food on the table and understood in his heart he would make a move. He couldn't help giving a cold laugh. The world with so the two girls haven't paid for their meal yet. Impression in her heart. Since the girls say that it's convenient, then please pay for your meal before you leave. The two of you even gave the waiter 10 silvers at once. It can't be that you don't have money to pay for your meal, right? It's him. His voice was filled with ridicule, but his heart was filled with shame. Together. Even though he thought he was smart, he had almost failed miserably today. He had been tricked by a 15 or 16-year-old girl who said, "We don't have money to pay for our meal. We have money." Xiao Ru's face turned red as she spoke. She did not dare look at Chen Ning. She knew that she had made a mistake. She was so regretful that she wanted to bite off her own tongue. Since you have money, then quickly take it out to pay for your meal. If you don't have money, don't blame me for sending you to the authorities." The shopkeeper gave a cold laugh. The surrounding diners who were watching the commotion also understood. It turned out that these two girls were really freeloaders. Young girls can't learn anything, but you actually learn to be a swindler and freeloader. That's right, that's right. The world's morals are getting worse by the day. The crowd's accusations and ridicule came one after another. Xiaoru was so embarrassed that she wanted to hide under the table. She hated herself to death right now. Why couldn't she control her tongue? She had caused the young miss to be ridiculed by others. Who says these two girls don't have money to pay for their meal? Is this gold ingot enough? If it isn't, then add another ingot. Amidst the crowd's accusations and mocking laughter, a young man in green parted the crowd and led a tall man in black into the hall. Chapter 64. It's enough, it's enough. The shopkeeper picked up the gold ingot and knew that it was real gold, it couldn't be faked. He revealed a smile on his face. So these two girls are this honored guest's friends. I've been disrespectful. The bystanders were all envious of Chen Ning's good luck. She had actually made such generous friends. Shopkeeper, please return the gold to this guest. I don't know him and I'm not his friend. The food in my stomach, I don't need anyone else to pay for me. Chen Ning suddenly cleared her throat and said. Her voice was very clear. As soon as her words fell, there was a gasp from the surrounding people. Everyone looked at her like she was an idiot. They were all wondering if this girl was an idiot. Someone was paying for her and she didn't appreciate it? Xiaoxi and Xiaoru's jaws dropped. They did not dare believe their ears. Even in his dreams, the black-robed man had never imagined that his good intentions would be met with a rebuff. His two thick eyebrows slowly came up and his deep dark eyes stared right at Chen Ning, like he wanted to see through her. Chen Ning was shocked. She was shocked. The shopkeeper held the gold ingot with his mouth wide open, not knowing what to do as he looked at Chen Ning. Chen Ning did not even look at the black-clothed man. She took a step forward and took the gold ingot from the shopkeeper's hand, throwing it to Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi subconsciously caught it and immediately received a cold stare from his master. His body trembled in fear and the gold ingot in his hand almost fell off and hit his toes. He looked at Chen Ning with a bitter face. He could not understand why this girl didn't throw the gold ingot to his master and instead threw it to him. This was clearly trying to kill him. Although the black-clothed man did not say a single word, Xiaoxi understood that his master's anger was like a giant wave that could explode at any moment. When that time came, the first person to suffer would be him. Miss, since you say that you don't need this honored guest to pay for you, then this miss can pay for it herself. The shopkeeper saw the gold ingot fly away and his heart filled with pain. His attitude towards Chen Ning became even more impolite. What's the rush to pay? I'm not full yet. Once I'm full, I'll naturally pay for it. Facing everyone's questioning gazes, Chen Ning calmly sat down and smiled at the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, I just heard the waiter say that your Taihe floor chef is very skilled. Whether it's food that flies in the sky, runs on the ground, or swims in the water, he is very good at it. Is this true? The shopkeeper replied without thinking. Of course it's true. Our Taihe floor chef can make any dish. There are only dishes that the customer can't order, but there isn't anything that the chef can't make. He wasn't boasting, but everyone knew that his family's restaurant had a wide variety of dishes and was second to none in the capital. Perhaps even the dishes in the imperial kitchen couldn't compare to his family's. Very good. Chen Ning was waiting for him to say this. Her eyes swept over the surrounding crowd and she slowly said, You are the shopkeeper of the Taihe floor, your words are like water that has been spilled, you can't take them back. There are so many guests here and everyone can bear witness. Chapter 65. The waiter had an awkward look on his face. He wanted to remind the shopkeeper not to boast, but how could the shopkeeper understand his subtle hint? Instead, he was scolding him right to his face. He lowered his head and pretended to be mute, not making a single sound. Who would have thought that even if he pretended to be mute, Chen Ning would not let him go? It's still the shopkeeper who is straightforward. Chen Ning looked over at the silent waiter and said with a smile, "Your waiter said the same thing as you, so I ordered 4 dishes. They were flying in the sky, running on the ground and swimming in the water. I also ordered a simple soup, but the waiter kept saying that they didn't have it. Could it be that the #1 restaurant in the capital can't even make 4 normal dishes?" It was clearly the restaurant bullying the customers, so this miss was angry and wanted to leave with the maid. Who would have thought that the waiter would be so picky and accuse us of not paying for our meal, saying that we were eating for free? Shopkeeper, you should be the judge of this. Her words were clear, her voice was clear, and her words were clear. When everyone heard this, they were filled with dissatisfaction towards the waiter. So it's like this, then it's all the waiter's fault. The shopkeeper's face sunk and he reprimanded the waiter. "The customer has ordered, how can you say that they don't have it? Have you forgotten the rules of this restaurant? Do you still want to work in our Tai floor?" The waiter looked at Chen Ning with a crying face. He thought that this girl's mouth was very powerful, she could even make the dead come back to life. If he knew this earlier, he would not have dared to provoke her in the first place. As a result, he was now suffering in silence, unable to voice out his bitterness. His heart was filled with grievance. "Shopkeeper, it's not like this, it's like this. No, it's not like this, it's like that." His heart was filled with anxiety and he stuttered even more. "What is this and that?" The shopkeeper impatiently cut him off and shouted, "What 4 dishes did the customer order? Why aren't you telling the chef to make them?" The waiter did not dare agree. He blinked his eyes at the shopkeeper. "Shopkeeper, it's not that this little one doesn't want to go, but the 4 dishes this girl ordered. This little one has never heard of them before. Our chef will not be able to make them." When the shopkeeper heard this, he was filled with anger. This brat actually said that he could not make the dishes the customer ordered in front of everyone. Wasn't this just throwing away his face? He raised his foot at the waiter and shouted, "Is there anything in this world that our Tai floor chef can't make? You brat, you're speaking nonsense. Quickly, quickly." The waiter's butt was kicked and he said in an aggrieved voice, "Shopkeeper, you might not know, but the 4 dishes this girl ordered, the one that flies in the sky. She said that the phoenix is a divine bird in the sky, so she wants to eat phoenix meat. She even named the dish the phoenix's nest. This little one has lived for so long, but I have never seen a phoenix before. Also, the one that runs on the ground, she wants the phoenix's egg. The one that swims in the water, she wants some squirrel and mandarin fish, and the strangest thing is the soup she wants. Not only does it taste good, it also sounds good. Shopkeeper, don't you think she's deliberately making it hard for people? How can there be anyone in this world that can make these 4 dishes? What? Phoenix's nest, phoenix eggs, squirrel and mandarin fish, and a soup that tastes good and sounds good?" Everyone's eyes popped out when they heard this. They thought that this matter couldn't be blamed on the waiter, it was clearly this little girl who was deliberately making it hard for them. Chapter 66. Once the shopkeeper heard this, he knew that he had wronged the waiter. His eyes turned cold as he looked at Chen Ning. Which family sent you here to cause trouble for my Tai He floor? If you want to smash my restaurant signboard, then go back and tell the person behind you that there's no way. The shopkeeper's face turned livid as he forcefully slammed the table. A tall tree attracts the wind. Tai He floor was known as the #1 restaurant in the capital, and there were several other restaurants that didn't accept this. They had already been secretly preparing to steal the name of the #1 restaurant in the capital. So the shopkeeper immediately concluded that Chen Ning and her servant were sent by another restaurant to cause trouble. They wanted to smash his Tai He floor signboard in front of everyone. Shopkeeper, what you're saying is wrong, right? I came to your Tai He floor to order food, but you're saying that I'm deliberately looking for trouble and that a guest can't even order food? When did Tai He floor have this kind of rule? Everyone heard this and they broke out a laugh. Her eyes. It's not that you can't, with sadness, it's just that the 4 dishes you ordered are too much. I believe that not only the head chef of this restaurant can't make them, in the end the royal chefs of the royal palace and ridiculed by so many people. If someone can make these 4 dishes, then I will smash the signboard of Tai He floor. The shopkeeper's face sank as he arrogantly said, the shopkeeper is angry. Chen Ning used her hand to support her chin. Do you think that I'm purposely looking for trouble and that I don't want to pay for my meal? People mocking her. Chen Ning pursed her lips into a smile, as if everything they said was praising her. Everyone in the crowd asked this question in their hearts. Support her chin, and even the black-clothed man looked at the people who were mocking her. She had a smile on her face as if they were all praising her with words. Humph. The shopkeeper gave a heavy snort, giving her a silent approval. If I say that I have a way to make these 4 dishes, then what? Chen Ning was not angry as she continued to speak with a smile. If you can make them, then I won't take a single cent from your meal and I'll even give you 1,000 silver coins. The shopkeeper gave a cold laugh. His expression clearly showed that he did not believe her at all. All right, I'll earn 1,000 silver coins from you today. Bring out a pen and paper. Chen Ning arrogantly sat down on a chair. Pen and paper? Everyone was stunned for a moment before they began to laugh at Chen Ning. This girl has been boasting all day, but in the end, she was just talking on paper? Isn't that so? I thought that she really had the ability to make those phoenix dishes. In the end, she's just a swindler. When the shopkeeper heard everyone ridiculing Chen Ning, he began to give a cold laugh. He ordered the waiter, "Didn't you hear what this divine chef said? Hurry up and get me a pen and paper. Miss Divine Chef is going to show us her skills." The mockery in his voice could not be any thicker. Chapter 67. The black-clothed man's heart was in a very bad mood. He couldn't help rubbing his tall nose. He couldn't understand how he had offended this girl. Why did she not like him at all? Was it because he had thrown 50 silver coins to that swindler the first time they met? Now he had left the impression of a rich fool in her heart and he would never be able to make a comeback? Divine Chef Girl, the pen and paper are here. Please show us your skills. The waiter came in with the pen and paper. He placed it in front of Chen Ning and the corner of his lips curled up in ridicule. Everyone was laughing at Chen Ning's misfortune, preparing to see Chen Ning make a fool of herself. Chen Ning calmly picked up the pen and turned her back to everyone as she began to write. Everyone could only see her waving her hand and not see what she was writing on the paper. Woken up from a dream. But this did not stop them from continuing to laugh at Chen Ning. But he was suddenly stopped by Chen Ning. It's a painting. Wait a minute, I've seen a joke in a book before. 1,000 silver coins is too heavy to satisfy one's hunger. Why don't you change it into silver bills for me? Today I've seen it for real, haha. Chen Ning said with a smile. Everyone should open your eyes wide and watch carefully. Whatever the young phoenix says will fly down from the paper. The shopkeeper went from arrogant to respectful as he nodded and bowed to Chen Ning. The shopkeeper thought the same as everyone else. He was sure that Chen Ning was drawing the face full of flattery really his shopkeeper. He had prepared a stomach full of words and was prepared to fiercely criticize her how she took out the painting. They are the real deal and we do not cheat anyone. She picked up a corner and blew the ink dry before handing it over to the shopkeeper. His eyes turned into slits. "Shopkeeper, do you think this piece of paper is worth 1,000 silver coins?" Respectfully presented it to Chin Ning. She curled up the corners of her lips and smiled calmly. Chin Ning reached out to take it and gave it to Xiao Ru. Everyone's eyes opened wide as they looked at the paper. With a generous smile, she said, "They saw that the paper was filled with words, I believe the shopkeeper won't lie to me. They were thinking in their hearts, now that we're done, we can leave. Is that okay? This girl really knows how to brag." She glanced at the few fierce-looking men blocking the door. Was worth 1,000 silver coins. Of course it's okay. You blind waste calligraphy in the capital city that even the emperor praised. Don't block the path of these calligraphy. Was only worth 1,000 silver coins. The shopkeeper immediately understood and scolded the large man. Disdain and he personally led the way and sent Chin Ning and Xiao Ru away. Disdain as he glanced at it. People watching the show all had their jaws dropped to the ground. His expression suddenly changed. Even in their dreams, they never would have thought careless to being completely like this. Interesting, it really was interesting as he stared at the black-clothed man stood in the same place. It was as if what was written on the paper was not words, still expressionless, but rather a flower. But there was a faint smile that flashed in his deep black eyes. They stretched their necks, wanting to see what was written on the paper. Couldn't even be seen, but the shopkeeper turned around, blocking everyone's line of sight. Xiao followed them. They could only see the man's voice was very calm, becoming more and more excited. It was impossible to tell if he was happy or angry. In the end, he was so excited that his hands were trembling. Xiao immediately understood that his master wanted him to find out where these two girls lived and where they came from. He ran away as fast as a rabbit. This was a good chance to make up for his mistake. If he lost them again, he wouldn't have the face to go back and see his master. Chin Ning held Xiao Ru's hand and walked out of the main entrance of the Tai floor. After passing through 2 streets, Xiao Ru still had a dreamy expression on her face. "Young miss, pinch me hard. I feel like I'm dreaming. That's right, I must be dreaming." Her bosom was bulging with banknotes, and her arms were tightly folded in front of her chest. Her face revealed an infatuated smile. Chin Ning stopped walking and looked at her. She found it both funny and funny. Wasn't it just 1,000 taels banknote? She didn't even put it in her eyes. Was there a need for this girl to be so happy like a fool? No. She had to cure this girl's shallow eyelids. Chin Ning's eyes turned and she had already thought of a good idea. When she was about to pull Xiao Ru over to carry it out, she glanced over and saw a figure flash behind her. Although the figure was very fast, Chin Ning could still recognize it with a single glance. She. It was the up. He saw. He must have been ordered by his master to follow him here. A deep as ink gaze appeared in Chin Ning's mind. It was the black-clothed man. In the restaurant, although she did not look at him, she knew that he was looking at her. He was looking at her with a curious gaze. Chin Ning could not understand what she had done to arouse this man's interest. Was it because she had jokingly called him a stupid person with a lot of money? She did not know him, but he had suddenly appeared to help her. Chin Ning did not want to accept his good intentions at all. Chapter 70. Xiao Ru had never seen this kind of bright-colored dress before. Her face turned red and she refused to wear it, so Chin Ning forced her to wear it. The beautiful red dress was like a beautiful scenery. As soon as Xiao Ru appeared on the street, she immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Xiao Ru's face was the same color as her dress and she was too embarrassed to raise her head. Chin Ning held Xiao Ru's hand and walked past Xiao Si like this, slipping away. When they walked past, Xiao Si's eyes couldn't help falling onto Xiao Ru's red dress. He muttered, "Such a bright red dress." He did not look at Chin Ning and her servant again as he stretched his neck to look at the entrance of the clothing store. He never would have thought that Chin Ning would change her appearance. The young man and woman wearing bright-colored clothes that walked past him were the targets he was following. After Chin Ning was sure that she had thrown off Xiao Si, she brought Xiao Ru back to the King Ding Yuan Palace without anyone noticing. Today's harvest was quite good. After they returned to the little courtyard, Xiao Ru placed the silver bills on the bed and counted them until her hands were cramping. "Eldest miss, what was written on that piece of paper of yours? Why did the shopkeeper give you 1,000 taels of silver without batting an eye? And he didn't even take the money for the meal?" After Xiao Ru hid the silver bills, she finally remembered the question that she had been ignoring this whole time. When Chin Ning was writing on the paper, although she was standing beside Chin Ning, she didn't know how to read. Even if she saw it, she wouldn't have understood it. "Actually, it's nothing, it's just a recipe," Chin Ning casually said. "Recipe? Could it be the recipe for the 4 dishes young miss was talking about?" Xiao Ru's eyes opened wide. "That's right." Chin Ning nodded with a smile. "Can you really make those 4 dishes? It's not something young miss made up to deceive people?" Chin Ning knocked on Xiao Ru's head and scolded with a smile. "When have you ever seen me deceive people?" Xiao Ru was stunned and couldn't answer. She tilted her head and thought about it. The young miss did not seem to have deceived anyone, but it seemed like she was deceiving people everywhere. Especially when she smiled like a fox, she always had a feeling that someone was going to suffer. "That's right, young miss, that lots of money clearly took out the gold to pay for us. Why didn't you accept it?" Xiaoru thought about it and asked. Chen Ning's face sunk when she heard this. "Xiaoru, of course, remember, although we are women, we still need to live with integrity. That lots of money is not related to us, so why should we accept his gold? As the saying goes, a gentleman loves money but he gets it in the right way. I do like money, but I only like money that I earn with my own abilities. That way I can spend it with confidence." Chapter 71. Chen Ning said in a strange voice, "It will make my heart sad? What is it?" "His Highness has given a strict order to not let any doctor into the palace to treat you, and no one is allowed to visit you. He said that he wants you to fend for yourself." Xiaohi stopped, not daring to say anything else. She secretly looked at Chen Ning's face. When she and Chun Tao heard this news, they couldn't help feeling sad for Chen Ning. Although they knew that His Highness did not like the princess, they never thought that he would not like her to this degree. This was the same as forcing the princess to her death. It was a good thing that the princess was not injured. If she had been punished by the family, she would have been heartbroken after hearing this news. Even if she didn't die from the pain, she would die from the pain. Who would have thought that Xiaohi would not see a single trace of sadness on Chen Ning's face? Rather, she slightly curled her lips and revealed a smile. "Oh, I'm fending for myself?" Chen Ning said with a smile. She didn't even need to think to know that for Chu Xiaoyang to say these words, it must be because Qin Baiyun had given her quite a bit of eye medicine in front of Chu Xiaoyang, giving him quite a bit of pillow talk. It seemed like her good little sister would not give up until she reached the Yellow River. If she didn't die for a day, perhaps Qin Baiyun would not be able to sleep peacefully. Chen Ning could not understand. What kind of deep hatred did she have with her half-sister that she would want her life? For a man, was it worth it? She really wanted to loudly tell Qin Baiyun that the man she treated as a treasure, she did not care about him at all. Whoever wanted him could have him. But in order to obtain this man, Qin Baiyun had tried to harm her again and again. She had already touched her bottom line. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Baiyun was pregnant, she would have let her go in the wedding hall. Otherwise, Qin Baiyun would not be able to bear the consequences right now. She would make Qin Baiyun pay the price in blood for her actions. This was really a case of people not harming the tiger but the tiger harming people. Chen Ning revealed a taunting smile. "Xiaohi, help me get something." The other side had already tried to take her life again and again. If she did not retaliate, wouldn't she be letting this cheap man and woman roam free? "Yes, princess. What do you want?" Xiaohi was a bit nervous. "I want a recipe for tomorrow's breakfast for Chu Xiaoyang and his concubine, the more detailed the better." "Baihe, can you do this?" Xiaohi let out a sigh of relief. "It can be done. Princess, this servant will go." She was really worried that the princess consort would ask her to make some arsenic poison. Even if she had 100 times more courage, she wouldn't dare do it. The cookbook came back with a long list. Chapter 72. Xiaoru's eyes were wide open as she looked at Chen Ning with a puzzled expression. Although she could not guess what the young miss was playing at, she knew that the second miss and His Highness would soon be out of luck. But what did the young miss want to do? Chun Tao and Xiaohi's culinary skills were not bad. The water chestnut cakes they made were sweet and delicious, melting in the mouth. "Princess consort, the water chestnut cakes you made are truly delicious. This servant has never eaten such a delicious water chestnut cake before." Xiaohi's mouth was very sweet as she quickly said this. Chun Tao couldn't help curling her lips, but she had to admit that Xiaohi's words were not flattery, but rather the truth. Such a delicious water chestnut cake. This servant believes that His Highness and the concubine consort will not be able to eat it. Chun Tao remembered that His Highness had a water chestnut cake on the menu for tomorrow. She thought that the princess consort was too angry, so she made her and Xiaohi make a better water chestnut cake. She thought that she had correctly guessed Chen Ning's thoughts, but who would have thought that Chen Ning would shake her head with a smile. "It's better to have fun together than to have fun alone. Since you all say that the water chestnut cake with chestnut powder is more delicious, how could this princess hide it? Xiaohi, you can tell the kitchen about this method. Also, we won't be able to eat all of this water chestnut cake, so you can give the rest to them to try." Chen Ning smiled as she pointed at the pastries on the table. "Yes, the princess consort is considerate of her servants. They will definitely be grateful to the princess consort." Chun Tao and Xiaohi happily agreed as they left with the water chestnut cakes. They did not think too much about it, they just thought that this was the princess consort's way of buying people's hearts. Chen Ning narrowed her eyes in satisfaction. It was impolite not to reciprocate. Chu Xiaoyang, Qin Baiyun, this is another gift I've given you. I hope you like this gift of mine in return. Thinking about it, I'm really looking forward to it. She gave a lazy yawn. Xiaoru, it's getting late, let's wash up and go to sleep. After Qin Ning washed up, she thought of the devilish handsome young man that came uninvited last night. She personally checked to see if the doors and windows were bolted. Only when she saw that every window was tightly shut and even the door was bolted did she feel relieved. When Xiaoru saw Qin Ning's strange actions, she couldn't help feeling nervous. She said, "Young miss, are you worried that a thief will come in and steal our money? How about this servant doesn't sleep tonight? This servant will guard the money and not let this servant steal it." Qin Ning smiled as she pinched her nose. "Silly girl, I'm not guarding against a thief that steals money." The beautiful youth smiled and winked, his dark pupils shimmering with light. He smiled and picked up the brush. "This turtle is still missing a tail. I didn't have time to draw it before you woke up. How about I add a tail for you?" "Fuck your turtle tail," Qin Ning scolded. She took a step back and dodged the young man's brush. Although she liked the beautiful youth comparing Chu Xiaoyang to a turtle that couldn't turn over, it did not mean that she was willing to appear in front of everyone with a turtle drawn on her face. "Do you think my painting isn't good enough?" "You. Then what do you like? I can draw whatever you like and I guarantee that it will be very lifelike." The beautiful young man took advantage of this opportunity and spoke with a smile. Chapter 74. Qin Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes as she was speechless once again. This handsome young man seemed to be crazy but not crazy. He kept pestering her and always appeared in her room in the middle of the night. She couldn't understand what he wanted to do. Did he really want to draw on her face with his childish heart? Or did he want to take revenge for the palm she gave him last time? "Where did you come from?" Qin Ning couldn't help staring at him with suspicion. She had clearly checked the doors and windows and found that they were all tightly locked. Could it be that this young man knew the heaven escaping technique? The beautiful young man seemed to have guessed her thoughts. He raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Not to mention your place, even if it was a heavily guarded palace, I would still be able to come and go as I please." "Really? I don't believe you." Qin Ning shook her head. She found that the doors and windows were still locked and there were no signs of them being moved. But this young man seemed to have fallen from the sky. It was just too strange. You don't believe me? All right, then I'll bring you to experience it." As soon as his voice fell, the beautiful young man suddenly rushed over to Qin Ning's side. His movements were as fast as the wind. Qin Ning felt her vision blur and then her waist tightened. There was an extra arm in front of her. The beautiful young man gently touched her body, stopping Qin Ning from letting out a cry of surprise. He revealed a faint smile and gently floated up. With a wave of his sleeves, 2 tiles on the roof flew up, revealing a hole that could fit the 2 of them. Qin Ning's eyes opened wide. She finally understood how the beautiful young man had come to her room. She had been on guard but she never thought that he would really fall from the sky. The beautiful young man's arm wrapped around her waist, effortlessly carrying her like he was carrying a baby. He jumped onto the roof and used his qinggong, bringing her across the roofs and walls. Qin Ning's eyes opened wide in surprise. She was currently flying through the air, with the sound of the wind whistling in her ears. Under the moonlight, she could clearly see the roofs, trees and flowers flying by her feet. But she was not afraid at all, rather she was filled with a strange kind of excitement. So this was the feeling of freely flying through the air. So this was the legendary qinggong. Qin Ning forgot about her disgust for the beautiful young man and wholeheartedly enjoyed this new experience. She did not know where the beautiful young man was taking her, she only knew that she had left the King Dingyuan Palace and had arrived at a high roof. Standing here she could look over the entire capital city. It was like she was stepping on the entire city. The beautiful young man let go of Qin Ning's waist and released her acupuncture point. With a smile he said, "If you accidentally fall, I won't save you." Qin Ning glared at him, but she was quickly attracted by the beautiful scenery in front of her and did not have any thoughts. In the darkness of the night, the vast capital seemed to be shrouded in a hazy white gauze. It was like a graceful girl had used a mysterious veil to cover her beautiful appearance, but it only made it even more tempting to wild and fanciful thoughts. The buildings around her were even more magnificent. Although it was night time, one could still feel a sense of solemnity, majesty, and heaviness. Qin Ning's and she would be it. She looked thoughtfully at the building under the ridge. It seemed that the young man had not lied to her. He had really brought her to the palace. Chapter 75. Come and see me every day. This young man's words were easy to say. Chen Ning couldn't help giving a laugh. What, you don't believe me? The young man raised his eyebrows. His black and white eyes reflected the moonlight, looking strangely bright. I believe. Of course I believe. Chen Ning quickly nodded. She thought of this young man's personality of doing what he said. She was really afraid that he would fly into her room every night and bring her out. Then she wouldn't be able to sleep well in the future. She raised her head. The deep blue sky reflected the specks of stars, which seemed to be within reach. Her childish heart suddenly came out and she smiled as she reached out her hands. She was about to reach out and grab the moon, but her feet suddenly slipped and she couldn't help falling down the stairs. Ah, her heart was about to jump out. If she fell down, wouldn't her body be smashed to pieces? Her wrist suddenly tightened and her body spun in the air. When she fell down, she fell into a warm and firm embrace. In front of her was a magnified handsome face. The two of them were very close and the young man's nose was almost touching hers. Their breaths could be smelled and there was a clear aura coming from his body that was slowly being released. Chen Ning and the young man's eyes were wide open. She could clearly see her own reflection in his eyes. His eyes were dark and deep, just like a bottomless well. When a person saw it, they couldn't help but be sucked in. She was stunned for a moment. Under the starlight, her eyes were strangely bright. It was like a sky full of stars had fallen into her eyes. The light was dazzling and dazzling. The young man had never seen such beautiful eyes before. His breathing stopped and his heart began to beat faster. Little stinky brat, thank you for saving me. Can you let go of me now? Chen Ning suddenly said. This position was too ambiguous. It was as if her entire body was in his embrace. There was no distance between the two of them. She could almost hear his powerful and rapid heartbeat. She didn't know why, but she only felt a slight warmth on her face. It was very awkward. Her words instantly broke the ambiguous atmosphere between the two of them, causing all the fantasies that had just arisen in the young man's heart to completely disappear. You. The beautiful young man fiercely grinded his teeth and waved his fist at Chen Ning. He angrily threatened. If you call me a little stinky brat again, do you believe that You what? Do you still want to hit me? Chen Ning raised her nose in disdain. She did not believe that this brat would dare hit her. Humph, I never hit women. But if you dare call me that again, I'll kiss you. He blurted out. His gaze happened to fall on her red and tender cherry lips. Her full lips were like a ripe and tempting fruit, making him suddenly have the urge to taste them. What did you say? Chapter 76. Her smile made the young man angry out of shame. He glared at her and let go of her. The moment she left his embrace, he actually felt a sense of reluctance. His arms moved slightly as if he wanted to pull her delicate body back into his embrace. This was the first time he had hugged a girl since he was 19. He never knew that a girl's body was this light and this soft, as if it would melt with a single touch. He did not dare use any strength at all. Hey little. It's almost daybreak, send me back. Chen Ning almost blurted out the words little stinky brat, but it was a good thing she stopped herself. She was afraid that this young man would do what he said. If he really kissed her without a care, she wouldn't be able to hide even if she wanted to. But although she did not say it, the young man knew what she meant. He glared at her and angrily said, I'm called Chu Xiao Bai. Chen Ning was stunned. Chu Xiao Bai? It was around the same as Chu Xiao Yang. It didn't sound like a good name, so what was there to be proud of? It was better to just call him Xiao Bai. Chen Ning muttered in her stomach, but her face revealed a smile as she praised. So you're called Chu Xiao Bai. Ooh, this name is good and has a good meaning. It's rare in the heavens, red lips and white teeth. You really live up to your name, it's 100 times better than your third brother's name. Good words came out of her mouth and she did not even blink when she lied, as if it was the truth. She knew that if she did not pacify this brat, he would throw her on top of the high palace in a fit of anger. She would not be able to call for help even if she called for help from the heavens. Stop flattering me. Do you think I'm a child that can just lie to me? Contrary to her expectations, Chu Xiaobai had seen through her thoughts with a single glance. He raised his chin and straightened his chest, making his figure seem even taller. He was almost a head taller than her. She almost had to look up to see his face. Damn little stinky brat, why are you this tall? Chen Ning angrily said in her heart, but she still said with a serious face, That's right, of course you're not a child. I never lie to children, but it's still daybreak. Send me back, all right? Not good. Chu Xiaobai coldly looked at her. What? Because I'm not happy. Chu Xiaobai pulled a long face and did not even look at Chen Ning. He suddenly jumped down the stairs and his body floated like a white cloud. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. Ning was stunned. This damned arrogant fellow, he actually walked away by himself, leaving her alone on the roof of a tall building. She couldn't go up to the sky, nor could she go down to the ground. She also didn't know Qinggong. Was he trying to trap her to death? Little stinky brat. Chu Xiaobai, you're just a little brat that hasn't grown up. Chu Xiaobai, she couldn't help cursing. Chapter 78. This is an aged wine that has been stored in the palace for nearly 30 years. Even the royal family and nobles rarely get to drink it. I purposely stole it from the wine cellar of the imperial kitchen. This wine has a strong aftereffect. If you drink it like this, you will easily get drunk, he kindly reminded. Drunk? I'm telling you, this miss has never been drunk before. The wind blew and Ning's tongue was a bit loud. Her body was also a bit swaying. She remembered that in the Tai-He floor yesterday she had drunk 20 cups of pear white wine in a row, but she was not drunk at all. This meant that her alcohol tolerance was very high. She had only drunk a few mouthfuls and Chu Xiaobai actually said she would get drunk? What a joke, he was clearly trying to scare her. Xiaobai, I think you're just unwilling to give up this 30-year-old wine, right? If you don't want me to drink, then I'll drink it. She once again raised the wine jug and poured it into her mouth. Unfortunately, before she could drink 2 mouthfuls, her body tilted and she fell to the ground. Chu Xiaobai was already prepared. He reached out his hand and grabbed her. Her soft body fell into his embrace. A soft and fragrant body filled his embrace, but Chu Xiaobai did not feel any joy in his heart. He revealed a bitter smile as he looked at Ning in his embrace. She had already closed her eyes and her cheeks were completely red. Even the hedgehog and turtle paintings could not hide the redness of her skin and her breath was filled with the smell of alcohol. She was drunk. Chu Xiaobai held the unconscious drunker and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He did not plan on getting her drunk, but who would have thought that she would drink like this? It really was killing him. It made his head double. Good wine. Give me another cup. She suddenly spoke in a drunken manner. She raised the wine jug in her hand into the air, raising a cup to the bright moon facing the shadow of 3 people. Cheers. Her hand tilted and the wine jug fell to the ground. Chu Xiaobai did not know whether to laugh or cry. He never thought that she would be so poetic after being drunk and start reciting poems. That's not right. He suddenly knit his brows. Didn't they all say that the Qin family's young miss was an ignorant idiot? But she was able to recite these 2 poems after being drunk and they were very vivid. He believed that even the most talented person in the capital, Zhang Hanlin, would not be able to write such a good poem. This young Miss Qin, she really was a mystery that no one could understand. From the first time he saw her in the wedding hall, he felt that she was very interesting and had his interest piqued. Who would have thought that the closer he got to her, the more he realized that she really was different from all the other women he had seen before. It was as if he had come from another world. Go home, I really want to go home. Chapter 79. She was really drunk and began to speak nonsense. He could not understand a single word she said. He stared at her blushing drunken face and suddenly felt a sense of pity in his heart. He tightened his arms around her. If third brother can't see how good you are and doesn't know how to love you, then there will be other people in this world who will understand you, love you, and treat you well. He spoke in a soft voice but word for word. He slowly moved a strand of her hair behind her ear, revealing her delicate face. Looking at the hedgehog and turtle he had drawn on her face, he suddenly felt that the turtle was very irritating. Ning was drunk. The consequence of being drunk was that when she woke up, she would have a splitting headache. She held her head and gave a groan. She opened her eyes and found that she was lying on the bed with Xiaoru looking at her with a worried expression. Young miss, are you sick? Why is your face so red? Also, your body is filled with the smell of alcohol. Did you drink alcohol? When you were sleeping last night, did this servant notice that you drank alcohol? When Xiaoru saw that Ning had woken up, she let out a sigh of relief. But her series of questions made Ning unable to answer. Her head was still a little dizzy and unclear. Did that handsome young man really come last night? Did he really bring her out of the prince's mansion and fly to the top of the imperial palace? Also, she clearly had a good alcohol tolerance, so how could she be drunk after drinking a few mouthfuls of wine? Woo, it must be the pear blossom wine I drank in the Tai-He floor yesterday. That wine is really strong. Ning lied without changing her expression. She really did not know how to explain the matter of Chu Xiaobai to Xiaoru. If she said it, she would definitely scare her half to death. So it's like this. You scared this servant to death. This servant thought that the young miss wouldn't wake up. Xiao Ru's eyes were still red, but hearing Qin Ning's words, her tears turned into a smile. Don't jinx it. If you keep cursing me, be careful that I don't hit your butt. Go use a handkerchief to wash my face. Qin Ning smiled as she scolded her. She lazily got up and looked out the window. She couldn't help being shocked. When she woke up, she found that the sun was already in the west and the courtyard was covered in a red glow. She had been drunk for this long. Damn Xiaobai, it was all his fault. Why did he make her drink wine for no reason? Qin Ning angrily ground her teeth. She suddenly thought of something and rubbed her face. She walked over to the copper mirror and looked at the bronze mirror. The little hedgehog with sharp teeth was still on her left cheek, but the tortoise on her right cheek was gone. In its place was a majestic lion. She did not even need to think to know that it was Chu Xiaobai. But why did he wipe the turtle and replace it with a lion? He couldn't be trying to use this method to warn himself that his third brother was a lion's, but that couldn't be touched, right? Qin Ning of Chu. Qin Ning angrily picked up the towel and wiped the two animals off her face, not leaving a single trace. Xiao 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 of xiao xiao of xiao. She felt that eldest Mrs. habit of drawing on her face in the middle of the night was a little strange, but the little animals she drew were really cute. She couldn't get enough of them. Missy, if you like to draw, can you draw on my face in the future? Xiao Ru's words almost made Qin Ning spit out a mouthful of blood. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she looked at Xiao Ru. What kind of eyes do you have? You still like this kind of ugly painting? Don't you feel ashamed wearing this kind of painting? Chapter 82. Xiao Ru couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. This servant loves eating peaches the most. The peach blossoms here are so beautiful. The peaches that come out will definitely be big and sweet. Oh. Qin Ning suddenly let out a soft cry. She had only been admiring the peach blossoms and did not notice that a peach branch had caught her hairpin. She gently struggled and the hairpin was lifted by the peach branch. Her jet black hair fell down her back like a waterfall. Young miss, wait a bit. I'll help you take the hairpin. Xiao Ru stretched out her arm to grab it, but she couldn't reach it. I'll do it myself. Qin Ning revealed a faint smile. She stood on her tiptoes and used her left hand to grab the peach branch. Her right hand reached out and gently took the hairpin from the branch. Her wide sleeves fell down when she raised her arm, revealing a snow-white arm. Her skin was as white as snow and as clear as jade. The light of the setting sun shined through the gaps in the peach branches and onto her face. There was not a single trace of makeup on her face and her smile was clean and pure, without a trace of smoke or fire. Xiao Ru couldn't help being stunned. She already knew that the young miss was very beautiful, but the current Qin Ning was as beautiful as a peach blossom fairy. It made her unable to speak. Silly girl, are you stunned from looking at the peach blossoms? Qin Ning looked back. Seeing Xiao Ru's stunned appearance, she couldn't help pursing her lips into a smile. She pulled her hand and walked out of the forest. She was wearing a moon-white dress that revealed her soft and graceful waist. With the wind blowing on her dress, she looked like a lily swaying in the wind. Her silhouette became a delightful scenery in the eyes of others. What Qin Ning did not know was that when she and Xiao Ru walked into the peach blossom forest, Chu Xiaoyang was not far from them. Whenever he was in a bad mood, he would come to this peach blossom forest by himself. Today his mood was very bad. Not only was it bad, he was very irritable. He was irritable to the point that he wanted to kill someone. There was no other reason. No matter who it was, after being ridiculed by his colleagues in court for 2 days in a row, his mood would not be good. Especially today, not long after he had his breakfast, he felt as if his stomach was turning upside down. Streams of air rushed out of his stomach. Even with his profound internal energy, he couldn't hold it in. On the way to court, he had let out a ping 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 pang ping sound. It was a good thing that there was only Xiao and Zi beside him and no one else heard him. In court, he had thought that he had already controlled himself. But he never would have thought that when he went to court, the emperor would ask a question of his own. As soon as he opened his mouth to answer, the anger he had been holding back for a long time suddenly exploded. Chapter 84. Chu Xiaoyang's face turned livid with anger as he angrily shouted, "Scram!" Raising his foot, he sent Lan Xiang flying. "Your Highness, it's all this concubine's fault for not teaching her properly. Your Highness, please forgive me." Chen Baiyun's face was filled with shame as she admitted her wrongs in a low voice. Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold snort. Although he was angry, he knew that Chen Baiyun was pregnant and couldn't be angered. He could only endure it and walk into the room. Only when he stepped into the room, he was choked by a strange smell and couldn't help coughing. Qin Baiyun's face was as red as a piece of cloth as she said in a low voice, "This concubine has a bad stomach. Your Highness, please go rest somewhere else first." Normally when she saw Chu Xiaoyang come to the intoxicated flower pavilion, it was like a golden phoenix had fallen from the sky. She racked her brains to make him stay for a bit longer, but this was the first time she had taken the initiative to persuade Chu Xiaoyang to leave. But she couldn't force him. She could clearly see that the longer Chu Xiaoyang stayed, the uglier his face became. Even if she didn't take the initiative to say it, Chu Xiaoyang couldn't stay here any longer. He wasn't stupid, he didn't want to smell this strange smell in the room. "You're pregnant, so it's best if you eat a light meal in the future. Also, this king doesn't like light foods, so you can eat breakfast by yourself in the future." After saying this, Chu Xiaoyang left without looking back. He left Qin Baiyun standing in the room in a daze. Looking at Chu Xiaoyang's back as he left, she bit her lips so hard that blood almost came out. Chu Xiaoyang left the intoxicated flower pavilion and went straight to the peach blossom forest. He didn't even let his personal attendant Xiaoenzi follow. He was lying on a peach branch, gently swaying in the wind. He was currently resting with his eyes closed, but when he heard the sound of footsteps approaching, he couldn't help frowning. This peach blossom forest was his forbidden area. Without his orders, no one could approach it. In the entire king's palace, there was no one that didn't know his rules. But who was this bold, daring to disobey his orders and sneak into his territory? He angrily opened his eyes and a young girl's beautiful back appeared in front of him. Her hair was like clouds, mist and flowing water. She was taking a hairpin from a peach branch. Her long sleeves slid down, revealing her snow-white arms. After the hairpin was taken off, she slightly tilted her head, revealing half her face. Her lips curled up, Chu Xiaoyang, revealing a smile that was hard to describe. Chu Xiaoyang's body suddenly went numb like he had been struck by lightning. His mind was blank as he stared at the girl's back. She walked out of his sight like a lotus in the wind. After a long time he suddenly came back to his senses. Who this young girl? Chapter 86. Xiaoru looked over with a puzzled expression. She saw a large group of people gathering at the end of the street. She remembered that the last time she came here there was clearly no one there. Xiaoru 1, 2, 3 turn around and run. Qinning did not say another word as she pulled Xiaoru and ran. But it was too late. There were already people in the crowd that had discovered them. They pointed in their direction and said, "It's her." Then the group of people was like a large black cloud charging right at them. Qinning and Xiaoru had only run a few steps when they were caught up by the crowd and surrounded in the center. It's over, they couldn't run anymore. Qinning stopped moving. She decided to deal with the situation as it came. She slowly turned around and cupped her hands towards an old man who was panting as he rushed over. She greeted him with a smile. "Old uncle, I haven't seen you in 2 days. You look even more spirited and healthy." That old man was the one she stopped on the street with a basket of eggs the day before yesterday. After listening to her eloquent words, he willingly took out 10 taels of silver as a thank you gift. So when she saw the old man and the large group of people behind him, her heart trembled. Her intuition told her that this was bad and she immediately ran, but she never thought that she would not be able to escape. Her first reaction was that something must have happened to the old man's fat son, so the old man had brought people to settle accounts with her. But now that she couldn't run, she could only take it one step at a time. She could only try to stall for time. The old man was panting as he ran, but it wasn't easy for him to catch his breath. His hands were on his hips as he glared at Qinning with a fierce look on his face. "Hey little girl, why are you running? Do you think we are tigers or lions that can eat you?" Qinning giggled and said, "Old uncle, you misunderstood. I saw that you were here, so I wanted to borrow a bench from the nearby carpentry shop for you to sit on." She did not even blink as she said this lie. But the old man clearly did not fall for it and gave a heavy snort. Qinning continued to smile. Her eyes were a bit weak as she looked around at the people around her. "Are these old uncle's relatives?" "No." The old man shook his head and said, "They are all looking for you." "Looking for me?" Qinning was stunned. Then she gave a bitter smile and said, "I don't know them, so why are they looking for me?" She muttered in her heart. If these people were really the old man's relatives looking for her, then she would only need a punch from each of them and she would not be able to walk away. "Divine Fortune Girl, this one is looking for you to have your fortune read." A burly man puffed out his chest and spoke in a loud and coarse voice. His voice was like a great bell and it was extremely loud and clear the moment he spoke. That's right, that's right. Divine fortune-telling girl, uncle, he said that your fortune-telling is very accurate. Can you help me read my words? A thin monkey-like middle-aged man asked. We've been waiting here for 2 days and we've finally waited for Divine Fortune Girl. Divine Fortune Girl, Divine Fortune Girl, Divine Fortune, and Divine Fortune. Everyone surrounded Qin Ning in the center, talking at the same time, chattering away. Qin could not. Qin Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes at the sky. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Seeing everyone's aggressive stance, it didn't seem like they were looking for her to have their fortunes read. It was clear they were looking for her life, almost scaring her to the point of cramping. Chapter 90. So Zhao Ergo sold his farm and bought a house in the city. He brought his blind mother to the capital city and lived the life of a rich family. He wholeheartedly wanted to marry a beautiful city girl as his wife, but the surrounding large families all knew that he was a farmer in the countryside. No one was willing to let their daughter marry a country bumpkin, so he had delayed it until he was 23. He was so anxious that his head almost turned white. Qin Ning revealed a mysterious smile and slowly said, "Big brother Zhao, what I'm saying is all from your palm." She spoke as if she was telling the truth. The surrounding people all believed it and Zhao Ergo was filled with admiration. He almost knelt down in front of Qin Ning and called her an immortal descending to the mortal world. Divine fortune-telling girl, can you help me calculate when I can marry a wife? Zhao Ergo's expression and tone became very low. He had a very careful look on his face, completely different from before. About this, let me calculate it. Qin Ning slightly closed her eyes and the fingers on her right hand kept flexing, as if she was calculating something. The surrounding people were all shocked by her divine skill. They couldn't help holding their breaths, afraid that they would disturb her. Zhao Ergo did not even dare to breathe. Qin Ning finally opened her eyes and revealed a faint smile to Zhao Ergo. Your Hong Yuan star has already moved. In less than 3 days, there will be people coming to your house to propose marriage. I wish Big Brother Zhao and my future wife-in-law 100 years of happiness and many children. What did you say? There will really be people coming to my house to propose marriage? Zhao Ergo was filled with joy. He was so excited that he wanted to grab Qin Ning's hand. Qin Ning's hand moved back and he grabbed empty air. He immediately realized that his actions were a bit rude and scratched his head in embarrassment. I'm sorry, divine fortune-telling girl, I'm just too happy. But you wouldn't be lying to me, right? He asked with a face filled with worry. It had to be known that in these past 2 years he had given countless amounts of money to the matchmakers, but none of them had been able to help him find a marriage. But today Qin Ning had said that there would be people coming to propose marriage in 3 days. How could he not be suspicious? In 3 days, if Big Brother Zhao doesn't see anyone coming to propose marriage, then you can come and destroy my iron-mouthed divine fortune-telling sign. Qin Ning pointed at the black and white words on the side and said in a resolute voice. Good, here are 10 silver coins. I asked divine fortune-telling girl to accept it. If there really is a joyous event within 3 days, Zhao Ergo, will definitely come back to thank divine fortune-telling girl. Zhao Ergo was so happy that he could not close his mouth. He took out 10 silver coins and respectfully placed them on the table before leaving in a happy mood. He had heard from Qin Ning that someone would come to propose in 3 days. He was afraid of missing it, so he couldn't wait to rush home. Of course Qin Ning was not Zhuge Liang, who could predict the future, and she did not know how to read fortunes. The so-called fortune reading was just a pretense she made up. The reason why she could be so accurate was because of her meticulous observation and accurate psychological judgment. This micro-expression technique in psychology was very profound and had been mastered by many people in the modern era. Qin Ning was one of the best at this. She had repeatedly used these 2 skills to solve some difficult and strange cases. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.